Hi, everybody. Kirk Hamilton here. We are more than a year out from a game that a lot of us at Kotaku really liked, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which now has a new Game of the Year edition that includes all the DLC and updates and expansions and everything that CD Projekt Red released over the last year and change. I am here with Kotaku Editor-in-Chief Stephen Totilo, who is actually still on his first playthrough of the game and has been playing more a little bit, and he and I were going to talk about the game just to get a sense of his impressions and what he makes of it. Hi, Stephen. How's it going?
All of that is true, but instead of having a conversation, do you want to play Gwent?
I do. I've started playing Gwent. Have you played any Gwent?
A tiny bit. In fact, yesterday I was doing the quest with Geralt and Triss Merigold when they're in the party, and there's, I guess, an optional Gwent session that you can play there. I hadn't played Gwent since I was in White Orchard, so I didn't have a very good deck, and I could not beat the guy even though they were saying he was going to be playing recklessly, so I failed at it a couple times. I could barely remember how to play. And then when I finished the main quest for that party thing, I got the notification that I had failed the collect them all quest, which I guess is about
right, because that's
Gwent
your only
cards.
opportunity, I think, to get his card. It's funny that some aspects of Gwent kind of channel my feelings about games like Magic the Gathering, where I don't want to play because I don't have a good enough deck, and so then I don't play, so I don't get better cards. Right. So it's that kind of vicious cycle. But yeah, I'd heard from enough readers that Gwent was really good, and I had dismissed it, just saying I don't have time for another game within this gigantic game.
Yeah.
But so many readers said, "Oh, it's great, you should really play." That I've been playing now on my New Game Plus playthrough, and of course they're right. It is very, very fun, and I'm going to try to really do all the tournaments and collect them all and do all of that.
What was Pazak? Was that the game in Knights of the Old Republic or Mass Effect? I can't remember.
Pazak was in Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, played that.
And was there something in Mass Effect similar? I don't think there was something on the same level as Pazak.
No. And that was sort of I think I had my fill of card games within bigger video games. The Witcher 3 I bought digitally for my PS4 not too long after it came out. And so many of the rest of us on staff were excited about playing it that what I often do is I hold back, because if everybody else is into this game, they're going to be writing about it. Then I figured the best I can do is try to play something else and cover something else. So I don't remember what I might have been covering. It's like last year when all you guys were covering Metal Gear Solid 5 and I was covering Mad Max.
Yeah, I remember because, I mean, you liked Mad Max, but Metal Gear it's such a Stephen Totilo game, and I kept wanting to talk to you about it, and you still haven't played it.
No. And then when the DLCs came out, I was downloading those because I figured why not. And I like the idea of going to play a game once it has everything that the developers intended to have. I guess maybe in my heart I'm a Game of the Year edition kind of guy, but I like to accrue it in the real-time flow of them putting this stuff out. But I found with some games that you really do benefit from waiting till after the patches hit. And so I only played it in drips and drabs when it first came out and mostly left it aside. And then I've had a couple of instances where I found gaps in my game playing schedule and tried to get into it. And tried to get into it as the operative word, because I don't yet understand why you guys completely love it. I see the game has not hooked me, and I've played it for, 20 hours. And some people would say, well, if a game isn't hooking you by 20 hours, then you should just bail. But I trust the tastes of my staff, who I think are smart people and probably have good reason to like it. I also realize that I think I have an aversion to fantasy in video games, and that I'm more of a sci-fi video game person than a fantasy person. Like, I like Game of Thrones on TV and Lord of the Rings and the movies and the books, but I realized I couldn't tell you, other than Zelda, which I don't know if it even counts, if I'm that into sci-fi gaming. I like Mass Effect and I don't like Dragon Age, So
yeah,
maybe that's part of it.
I mean, I think there's a lot of buy-in required for The Witcher 3. I was talking to Riley McLeod, our managing editor, about this game, and we've all been talking about it since, the Game of the Year edition came out, and he's saying he wants to play it, and he went and read the big lore explainer guide that I wrote a year ago, and I had just assembled this article rounding up a whole lot of our Witcher articles from the last year, and kind of skimmed back over that article. And there's no doubt, I love that article and that stuff, and it was really fun to do, but there's no question that it's unbelievable by, you know, I don't even know, 2,000 words in, and you're still just going over secondary characters and different races and conflicts, and it requires that buy-in for sure.
Yeah. The proper names have been alienating for me in the early going because I didn't play Witcher 1 and Witcher 2. But all that said, the other thing that I think may have kept me from getting super into the game and falling in love with the game yet is that I took your advice, and we've discussed this before prior to this recording. We discussed this months ago, but I took your advice, and I'm playing at something higher than the default difficulty level. So I'm playing at
Blood and Broken Bones is the difficulty that I recommend.
Because you said that you wind up, if you play the normal difficulty level, you become overpowered by a certain point once you start getting Witcher gear. And I just felt like, well, then why don't I learn the gameplay systems and the combat systems? So for me, like, playing has been really treacherous. On the PS4, the load times after you die can be like a minute or like 45 seconds to a minute. I don't know how you're playing on the PC for the most part, right?
Yeah, I mean, I play on PC and I'm on a solid state drive, so it's really fast, and it is easy to forget that. The first time I played it was a debug version on PS4, and the load times were way more brutal compared to PC, and I'd imagine they're slightly improved now. So but yeah, it's definitely a difference.
If you die on PC, like, how fast is it till you come back?
Seconds. I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Maybe.
Yeah. So I get into conflicts, and then I also was doing the roll instead of the sidestep for too long, and so my combat was my approach to combat was bad. And you sent me a text message a couple of weeks ago, and the rules you gave me is that I should always have it's Quen, right? The shield magic, that I should always have that activated.
Yes.
And if it's ever broken, the priority is restoring that and doing the sidestep thing. So that's been what I've now gone into combat with. And ever since I did that, I've been faring a lot better in combat. But there's still things about the game that I think I just don't understand yet, and I want to see what it's like once I get it. Like, everybody has loot. Everybody's dropping armor and weapons, but it's almost all trash, right? Like,
right. I mean, you accumulate it and sell it. That's all you do with it. And there is too much. It's funny that you'll be able to watch some of the footage that I recorded that we're going to put this conversation.
I'm sure your armor's great in this footage. I'm sure.
And I'm playing well because I played 106, like more than 200 hours of The Witcher, and have got my kind of combat style worked out and know what a drowner is going to do and know what a bandit is going to do and kind of know how to handle them.
Right.
But there's definitely the thing that I was noticing when I was just capturing the footage is there's no question you get this automatic just, okay, I'm picking up all this junk. Like, you just vacuum up junk after every fight.
Yeah.
And it's all worthless. It's all worth a very small amount. But then when you go to a vendor and you cash it all in, you get a few hundred gold, and that adds up over time.
I want to have Witcher gear, and I have the diagrams for Witcher gear, but like, I don't know where to get a monster eye, and I need an eye of a monster.
Oh, you'll get that from a lot of different monsters. Part of the thing is you'll find as long as you loot every monster you kill, you kind of just accumulate all of that stuff. And then sometimes if you need a monster eye, actually, this is a little bit confusing and not that well explained, but that's a more generic crafting item than what you probably have. I bet you have one. It's just called like a harpy eye or a drowner eye or something, and you can go into deconstruction when you're at a vendor.
Okay.
And they can deconstruct those specific parts into a monster. Yeah, dismantle them into a monster eye or monster feathers. Anytime there's something that's just generic monster, you usually have to dismantle something to get it.
I'm super excited about managing my mutagens. And my thing is, like, the problem is I have like a lot of like wraith mutagens or something like that, and I can't use them. But maybe based on what you're saying, I should be dismantling them, and maybe they're made of constituent like blue, green, and red.
I'm not sure about. You can dismantle them, and you can now craft mutagens. You couldn't before. This is something that has changed and has gotten much easier to keep track of. When I was recently playing, I noticed, I can craft mutagens now because there's this whole new kind of high-level mutagen thing that was introduced in the last expansion in. What's it called? Blood and Wine. That lets you make these super, like, kind of ultimate mutagens that give you really amazing powers. And to get those, you have to power them up with a whole bunch of mutagens that you collect, because you'll wind up over the course of the game with literally 100 unused mutagens.
Okay.
But now you can craft them into better ones and deconstruct them. I think you can deconstruct them.
Yeah, I'm combining them. So I'm into my mutagen management and my power management.
Good.
Though my powers aren't that cool. Like, why does Ciri have the most badass powers by default?
Because Ciri is a really powerful, important person, and Geralt is kind of just a witcher. It actually is. It lines up with the story.
His powers are lame. Like, it's just like force push and shield. But like when you go down that tree, do they eventually become like much more interesting powers?
No, not really.
Oh, pretty basic.
There are some interesting weapons that you get, but there's not a lot of variety. It isn't on,
Her, like,
it
warping
isn't on
thing.
par with
Yeah.
something like Dark Souls or something with like a lot of really varied, interesting abilities.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
I'm slowly getting into potions. I don't really get decoctions yet, and I kind of think they're the same as potions. Like I'm not really sure what
They
the
are.
difference is.
It's well, potions. They're kind of. I mean, I think part of that is based on Witcher lore. I actually don't use potions very much because I don't have a lot of abilities related to potions equipped, so I can't use too many potions before I get all roided out and veiny and like overdosing. So I really just use Swallow, the one that heals your health, and I think it might be White Gull. I can't remember. There's one that just causes you to replenish stamina faster.
Right.
And I keep those two hotkeyed, and then that's about it.
I
really.
just moved up to Enhanced Swallow. I crafted Enhanced Swallow a couple
That's
days
kind of
ago.
a fun grind I found, just going around and figuring out how to get the items. It's such busy work, and it's such that kind of art. Like the inventory, as much as they've improved it over the last year, is still a total pain in the ass for doing that kind of stuff.
So
but
much
I actually
better.
have gotten good enough at it.
Oh, it's so much better. Yeah, I only dabbled in like I did like White Orchard pretty early. Well, not even that. I don't think I did much of White Orchard until a few months after the rest of you stopped talking about the game. So I guess I only dabbled a tiny
Stephen,
bit.
we never stopped talking about The Witcher 3.
Fair enough. When there was a brief abatement of it is when I played White Orchard, I think. But the inventory was still horrendous then. And then when I got back into the game a few weeks ago, and that's when I did a lot more of Velen and finally went my way to Novigrad, I was using the new refined inventory, and that's where you actually have like a paper doll model of your character kind of thing, and you can see the things all around him. And it's so much more clear. But I guess going back to the thing where I'm saying like everybody drops loot, I was expecting that I would be picking up better gear bit by bit, if not at the pace of Diablo or even at the pace of Destiny. I thought it would still be faster than what I'm doing, where I've moved up. I'm character level 15, moving to 16, and I feel like I'm only in my second or third outfit of the game. And I thought that by now I would be wearing something better. And the thing I'm wearing, it's like this big metal plating, and it makes Geralt look like he's got a big belly, like a big beer belly.
Some of the armor has a gut issue. Even the Griffin armor isn't that flattering. I actually will say, I think that there are a lot of Witcher players who agree with me that the more flattering armor is just cooler because you look like a cooler badass in your cool armor. So it's interesting. There's something weird with the game's loot, I think. I haven't looked at a spreadsheet that explains it all, but I think especially with armor, there's just this feeling that you get one set of Witcher armor and then you just level it up. So you start with the basic Witcher or Griffin gear, and then you get the advanced Griffin gear and and eventually the mastercrafted one, and then in the expansion there's an even better version, and you kind of just use that the whole game. I've never found armor that's straight up better than the Witcher armor or cooler looking.
Does it sound
Swords
like
are a little bit different?
Does it sound like I should have it already though, based on where I'm at?
I think so. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I can't remember what the level requirement is for the first set of Griffin gear, but it's right around there.
I'm well
if
over
you're
it. I
not
think
already
it's like
past it.
11 or something. And like I said, I'm on 15 moving to 16. I just haven't had all the right parts, so I haven't been able to craft it.
I think you should, I would say look up how to make it, like how to get the parts, because it makes a huge difference when you're wearing that armor, especially if you equip the ability that gives you faster, it gives you some bonus based on whether you're wearing a full set of light armor or medium armor or heavy armor. The Griffin is medium, so I think it makes your stamina recharge faster.
I just assume that games are designed to like sort of give me or guide me the stuff, and I am obsessive, as you know, about doing side quests. So aside from not doing the Gwent side quests, and I haven't done any of the fist fighting side quests, which if they're good,
those are actually fun.
I should do those. Okay.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I've been doing every contract that I can at my level. I've been doing, the side quests at my level. So I've been doing those things, and I thought they would have doled stuff out. And I actually stumbled upon the Griffin gear without being given the quest, which I don't know if that's the normal way of happening. But I was just exploring something near the border between Velen and Novigrad. I was in like some castle that had harpies or something.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
On the roof, and I just found it, and it was like tied up to a whole story about people who tricked a Witcher into thinking there was something going on with a lighthouse or something like that. And so I suddenly had a diagram, and I was given the quest, and I moved around. I don't mind doing things out of order. I've been a little confused because also I have all the DLC. I have more quests than a Witcher player should probably have at the beginning, although I guess this is what the Game of the Year people will have. Because I did the pig quest already, which was one of the free DLC quests.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just a DLC quest, though. That's not like an expansion or something that you have to do in a certain order.
I've accidentally started doing some of the, what's the first big DLC? Hearts of Stone. Hearts of Stone. I accidentally started doing one of those, and I got to the point where you're meeting all these people who all say they're the guy that you're looking for, and then they put you into like a fist fight challenge. And as soon as I'm in like that, and it's like a long cutscene before that, and as soon as I'm in the part where I have to do the fist fight, they go to, the combat look, and the health bar's over his head, and like the level number is red next to him. I'm like, oh shit, why am I in this quest? Why didn't they warn me? And he just knocks me out. And then they still are like, you showed your stuff. And they're like, go meet the guy.
I showed my level 16 stuff.
Yeah, I was like level 12 at the time. It's a level 20-something quest, but I'm like, all right.
In terms of progression, the game definitely favors story quests over side quests. I remember there were times, especially when I was playing early on, there are some quirks with how it gives out XP, but there were times early on where I just felt like I could not level up to save my life, and I just wanted another level so I could equip some piece of gear that was one level above where I was, and I just took forever because I kept doing side quests and figuring out, okay, if I reclaim a settlement, that gives me more XP than if I go and do, like I was chasing question marks, which give a little bit of XP sometimes, but not all of them do. So it's definitely a lot easier. If you want to just level up quickly, do story missions. Just do a few story missions. But the rewards are a little odd. You'll get some pretty cool swords at times. You'll find like a named, sort of exotic tier sword, some of which even have cool abilities, especially from the DLC. There are a few that have unique abilities, but a lot of times I'll find one and it won't be as good as the Witcher sword I'm using.
So stuff I like. The characters, they're always interesting to me. I find that other than in the interest of time, if I'm in a rush and I don't have a lot of time to play, I actually do listen to the voice acting through, and I don't just spam through the dialogue. I think it's well acted, and the characters are not cliches. They often surprise me as to what they're saying, what their issues are, and what their plight is, or whatever. And I find myself liking a lot of the supporting characters. I like the guy. He's one of the main characters in the Novigrad section. He's just like burly guy who's like a former spy. He has some sort of acrimonious relationship with Geralt. Oh, I think Geralt broke his ankle. It's in some previous instance or something like that. His name is like Dijkstra or Dijkstra or something like that.
Oh, Dijkstra. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of somebody else. Yeah, Dijkstra is great. And he's the spy master.
There's all these references to stuff that happens in the past that I'm assuming happens in the previous Witcher games, but like I don't care that I don't know it. I like the fact that I don't know my character completely, and that he's got this backstory that I don't know.
Oh man, so I like that too. I like that it's basically you're playing as Geralt of Rivia and you're not playing as yourself or whoever you want to be. And bear in mind that even for those of us like me, like I played the first two Witcher games, but I haven't read all the Witcher books. That this game ties up loose ends of things from the books. It has references to stuff that I didn't know about either. I think the whole story with Dijkstra and Philippa Eilhart is this whole complicated thing that I think plays out in the first Witcher game, but it's really, it helps to go read the character codex entries for each of those characters, which are actually pretty well written and fun. They're written in Dandelion's voice, and they share some backstory. But yeah, that whole story between him and Philippa plays out in this game, but it's something that is a payoff, I think, from a much older storyline.
I should probably read more of the Codex lore entries. I am a fan of lore entries that are written in the voice of a character. Like Pikmin 2's Piclopedia was written by like the little astronauts from that game, and Assassin's Creed lore is usually written by that British dude whose name I'm suddenly blanking on.
Yeah, it's very The Witcher reminds me of the Assassin's Creed ones.
The thing is, and this is an issue with a lot of the Witcher 3, is that it's clearly a game whose user interface and font sizes and everything were designed for PC play and for being pretty close to your monitor. And I find that when I'm sitting on my couch, which is relatively far away from my TV, I think compared to most people, so I grant that I probably put myself at more of a disadvantage than most, but it is a challenging game to read its screens clearly from the TV. And they even have an option, if you hold on L3, on the PS4 when you're doing like tooltip stuff on the or like item descriptions, they'll do like a big text version of the balloon will pop, and it's like it's an acknowledgement that they have some interface readability problems.
And I mean, even given that it does feel designed for PC, it actually doesn't work that well on PC, and more to the point, I find, and I think a lot of people find, that the PC version is still better to play with a controller. I still play with a controller because it's a weird, it works very well with a controller. I think combat controls really well. It feels really natural. Playing with a mouse and keyboard has always felt very weird. I generally don't like third-person games with a mouse and keyboard, but it's especially weird in this game. So, you know, it really is a controller game, and so it's their issue. I actually found for the codex that I pulled all of the codex entries out and read them separately. I just made screenshots of them basically and would read them on my regular computer or on a tablet.
This man is officially obsessed with The Witcher 3.
You know, I wanted to keep track of who everybody was and be sure I was writing accurately about it.
Yeah, if ever there's and that's what I would like, second screen apps, which I know don't even really get made for games anymore. But I think like Mass Effect 2 or 3 had like the iPad, you could just read like the codex. Something on the controls that I want to point out also, because people listening to this I am sure you all know your Witcher 3 really well, but you may, like me, have missed this one subtle thing that really changes combat a ton, which is that if you are, I think it's if you're guarding, which is L2, while in combat, did you know this, Kirk? And you hit left and right on the D-pad, you cycle through your spells?
Yes.
I had no idea, and then I read that like during a loading screen. The one good thing about the long loading screens is that I can cram a bunch of tooltips in, or whatever they're called. And so now instead of like hitting L1 and going into the slow-mo and then pointing to, okay, now I want to go to Igni from Quen or whatever, or Axie or whatever. Instead, I'm just cycling through them left and right on the D-pad, and I find myself feeling like I want to use more spells now when I'm actually playing combat.
I still don't do it naturally because, like you, I learned it after playing the game for 60 hours or something, and then I finally saw that in a loading screen and was like, "Are you serious?" And then I did it, and it worked. And so I've just popped to the wheel every time now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the kind of thing that they don't tell you. That then, I'm trying to think. I think my favorite saving screen or loading screen tip from this game is it just says, "Witchers, like sorceresses, are sterile." And it's just the sentence down. I'm like, well, that's nice. Now I know that's nice. Nice little bit of lore information. I'm glad that you shared with me.
So based on where I'm at, like, be my my gaming counselor here for a minute. Based on where I'm at in the game, I have not finished the Ciri part of Novigrad yet. I haven't gone to Skellige at all.
Skellige,
okay. Just testing you. I'm not yet loving the game, but I'm liking it and appreciating it. Is there still a good chance that I will love this game? Is it going to become more amazing as I play?
I mean, honestly, like, I don't know. Of course, if somebody has played as much as you've played and they're not feeling it, my gut reaction is to say it's not your game, like it's not for you. That said, I think this game gets better and better as it goes. I think Skellige is the best area in the whole game. It's really incredible. It gets more fun if you get around some of the challenges that I can tell you're still facing with combat, which is one reason I would say maybe stick with it, just because I really like the combat in this game. I think it's super fun. The boss fights are fun. A lot of the enemies you fight are fun. And I feel like I've mastered it, and that's why it's fun. And if I hadn't mastered it, I could still being frustrated, and not even having Witcher armor. I mean, it's you want to have that feeling of, that it's like you get a purchase in an RPG, and you think, okay, I've got my head around this. I'm doing pretty good. I'm starting to build my character up. And you're kind of about to be there, but you're still not there, which I think is a result of you getting there a little slowly for some reason. Usually in my playthrough, that happened well before I was in Novigrad doing stuff with Triss. But if you're not there, and you can get there, it might mean that you start enjoying it. Plus, this game is a rare RPG where the story gets better and better as it goes. And actually, it climaxes at one point and continues going and builds to a really honest-to-God ending that's great. And then the DLC, particularly the first one, Hearts of Stone, are just these incredibly well-done, entertaining, charming add-ons. So it really just keeps getting better. So there's that, too.
Like I said, I'm getting better at the combat. I'm getting better with understanding the mechanics of the game more and more. So I feel like I might be on the verge of something. I don't think I'm fooling myself or trying to justify the time I've spent in it. I certainly am not disliking the game. I'm just thinking like, oh man, I know there's 60 more hours of this game, and I know these people who I respect love it. and I'm not loving it, should I be doing myself a favor and trying Metal Gear Solid 5 for a bit and seeing if I love that more, or some other game that I've neglected? I want to, but I do think I'm gonna stick with it and keep playing, and also Novigrad, I'm not a big fan of, and it's giving me, Assassin's Creed is near and dear to me, and when I'm in Novigrad, I want to climb the damn buildings because I just feel like he should be able to get around faster.
It's too bad because Geralt is kind of a decrepit old man when it really comes down to it. And if he falls more than 5 feet, he dies instantly. So it's very he's not Ezio Auditore.
I like the flow of riding on Roach from town to town in the southern part of the map. And the Novigrad missions involved a lot more running from building to building. And I felt more constrained, and I still liked a lot of the characters that I was meeting and some of the ways they used the underground and the different levels of the city. And I'm intrigued by the Triss-Geralt relationship because, again, I have no knowledge of what I'm just inferring what their previous relationships were.
Well, yeah, Novigrad is where it picks up in terms of character stuff because it's the first time he's with one of the two kind of main other characters, love interests from the game. Triss and then Yen, then when you get to Skellige, that's when Yennefer's whole storyline plays out, which is great, and she's a great character, and I love their relationship. So, where you are is kind of where the story stuff starts getting more interesting. And then, of course, Ciri becomes more and more of a character over the course of the game. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say you're already playing as her, and like she really isn't. She's not this out of reach objective for the whole game. Right. She becomes a major character, and their relationship is great. I mean, it's the emotional heart of the whole game, and is really, really well done. So, as you start to layer these characters on, the story definitely starts to pick up.
Yeah, and I'm going to get out of being locked into city blocks. I'm going to be getting back into
that's really the only time that happens, is there, because Skellige is much more spread out. It's cool. It's more like more northern feeling and more island based. You're on boats, and you're going from boats, like on a boat to small islands, and exploring hidden caves and climbing mountains and stuff. It's much more outdoorsy over there.
Yeah, good. I like, and again, I like some of the quests even within the city. Like, I like the whole weird stuff that's happening with, like, the theater and how we have to write a play in order to send a message to Dandelion.
That's a good quest.
Priscilla, I think, is the woman that Dandelion's dating. So there's some good stuff in that. Or when you have to find the 5 women that Dandelion was sleeping with.
Yeah.
And they all have such interesting and odd stories.
Yeah, each one is surprising. It goes in line with, I think, what the game does so well, where each time you're expecting this kind of boring spurned woman storyline, and each one actually is way more interesting and kind of funny or surprising. And
the twins were really interesting. Is there more of them? Do they come back?
I don't think so. They might be referenced in some oblique way, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
but that I like that whole quest actually, where you're trying to find Dandelion, is good.
Right.
And there's good stuff in the city, but it does open up from where you've been.
Yeah. Well, so Kirk, I think I'm going to stick with it. I know I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to avoid stumbling into any too high level quests, and I'm going to get that Witcher gear and keep sidestepping instead of dodge rolling, and I think I'll be having a good time.
All right, nice. Well, if you need any tips, you can always ask, and I will happily provide them.
I'm sure you will.